the highly seasoned gamer VR.
You know those walk and talk videos that YouTubers used to always do? Well, I thought it'd be fun to kind of walk and talk in VR and walk around this Colorado military base in Hitman so we can talk about some stuff. Because I'm getting really sick of all this doom and gloom. VR is dead. PSVR 2 is dead. Meta is dead. Look, the game industry itself is going through a rough patch. VR is just a small niche within that. Are we going through a bit of a brutal reset, in my opinion, right now? Yeah, I think that we are. I think Meta made some really bad decisions, really messed things up for the industry for a while. There's a whole bunch of VR studios that keep closing down, and there's a bunch of VR games that are being made into flat games, and there's a bunch of flat games being made into VR games, so that's an interesting thing, but that's just helping to prove that hybrid is the way. Yes, we all wish Sony would support PSVR 2 more first-party wise, and I pretty much gave up on that for the rest of this generation, but I'd be happy if they just brought over all the PSVR 1 classics, that's all. But we do have this plug-and-play OLED headset that is amazingly priced. It works with a PC. I mean, the thing's amazing, and it's okay if indies continue to support it just like they did with the Vita. Sony makes great hardware, so why not use it? Just because we don't have Killzone or Hot Shots Golf yet on PSVR 2 doesn't mean that Sony's not doing things behind the scenes, giving money to indie studios to help them out. There's a reason why we have Resident Evil, these native ports on PlayStation VR 2, and games like Microsoft Flight Simulator. I'm sure that Sony had something to do with helping to bring that over. My point is that VR is not going anywhere. I had a 3D VR headset with head tracking back in like 1997. At the very least, it'll be the PC VR enthusiast that'll keep it alive. There's so many different headsets available for PC, even if you don't want to use the PSVR 2 headset. Now, Rec Room might be finished now, but things like VR chat still exist, and there's always going to be stuff like that socially to exist in VR. That's never going to go away. And you're always going to have people modding games that aren't even supposed to be in VR on a PC. The only thing that bothers me about mods is sometimes they require a very expensive PC that someone can't afford, or they don't like tinkering and it's hard to get it to work right, that kind of thing. And also, what incentive does a major company have to release a VR patch or a VR version of their game if someone's already doing it for free for them? But hey, if that's the only way that we can play Cyberpunk or GTA in VR, well, that's how we're going to do it. You know, this reset or whatever you want to call it kind of reminds me of the video game crash of 1984, a bit. VR reminds me of the 80s because, it's kind of like this, well, not new, but new experimental way of making games. You've got passionate people that are in their garages, like the old days, 4 guys, 2 guys, a couple people making amazing experiences that they just want to make because they're passionate about it. I think part of the issue with VR right now is that a lot of people haven't had that holy crap, this is the future moment that ruins most flat games for people, because all they maybe tried was some mobile VR, they played a little Beat Saber, maybe they bought a headset, played a little bit and put it aside, maybe they got nauseous and motion sickness a few years ago, not realizing that now the frame rates and the resolution's gotten a lot better and, things have changed. Gamers can be lazy too. They don't want to put on a headset, they don't want to sweat, they don't want to stand up and wiggle their arms around to slash a sword. I mean, I understand that it's immersive, but sometimes you just want to sit back on the couch with a regular controller and just be immersed. And I think that the more games like that we end up having, the quicker VR is going to become more mainstream. VR grows every year. Is it still niche? Well, yeah. Is it only 10% or less of the gamers out there that are playing in VR right now? Well, yeah, but eventually that'll be 20%, 30%, 40%. And think about it, most VR games keep getting better and better. And there's plenty of classics out there too. The catalog of VR games keeps growing, both on Steam and on PSVR 1 and PSVR 2 or whatever. So even if you just got into VR tomorrow, while VR is dead right now, there'd be thousands of games and definitely hundreds of amazing ones that you can go discover and play. I mean, I think the moment we have like a Call of Duty or even Madden football in VR, it might sell headsets just for that. Obviously, something like GTA would do the same thing. 3D's having a bit of a comeback too, with new monitors and pads coming out. And before you know it, Unreal Engine and stuff like that will probably make it a lot easier for any game to be run in flat or in VR. At the very least, we should be able to turn any non-VR games into 3D and play them inside the headset. that way and just let the gamers choose how they want to play. I also think headsets will continue to get smaller and lighter and have better frame rates, and less people will get motion sickness as time goes on. Most of the best-selling VR games happen to be hybrid games like GT7 and Hitman and stuff like that. So what we really need, I think, is like 5 more flat to VR studios, because we can't leave it all to just one group of people to keep releasing games, and it's working for them. So we just need a couple more companies that are willing to go out and license older games and bring them back into VR, or make new stuff, but whatever it is. I'm also a firm believer that VR makes every game better. So if a game's a 9 or a 10, it's more like a 15 in VR. And if a game's kind of boring, or it's like a 5 or 6 average game on a flat screen, in VR it can be an 8, because you're inside that world. You just can't explain it, but it's so much better. When I played RE7 on PSVR 1 and finally got outside of the house, I sat on a bench for like 20 minutes watching the rain before I moved on in the game. You would never do something like that on a flat game. You just walk by that bench and not even think anything about it. It's awesome when games like Job Simulator or the Pixel Ripped games, games that were made for VR with VR in mind, they can be extra special, but I don't necessarily need that all the time. We still have some great games to look forward to this year, like Forefront and Flatout and stuff. But even if no new VR games came out for the next 2 years, I would never run out of games to play between my backlog and what's out there. Not to mention GT7 and Hitman and No Man's Sky and Microsoft Flight Simulator, games that you could basically play forever. So instead of complaining, I'm just going to be really grateful that we have VR exercise games and VR indie games and some AAA VR games, and we have casual games like bowling and golf, not to mention all the amazing mods out there. We will make it through this difficult time. Anyway, thanks for coming by, thanks for watching, and of course, until next time, I'll see you in VR.